energy vampires, psychic vampires. Ah! All right, I'm going to talk about this. I'm just trying to keep it a little bit light because what I want you to know is that, yeah, that is a thing. There's a thing about those things. And I will tell you that one form of that kind of energy vampire or psychic vampire is the narcissistic strategies or the narcissistic tactics. And I'm going to share in this video some personal stories of having moved through that repeating pattern of being in that kind of a toxic relationship as the one who is getting the blood sucked dry as the victim. Putting myself in that position. Yes, yes, yes. It is a hero's journey on everyone's end. I am not just a victim. I am a willing participant. Anyway, the point of this video is to tell you that you are stronger than you think. The universe has your back. And if you believe in yourself, you are going to discover this. We're picking up the third in a series of videos where I'm telling my personal stories about how I moved through some limiting patterns and beliefs, and also giving you the tips and techniques that will help you to break free of limiting patterns and techniques, because ascension is now. Healing is now. There is no time to wait, and your highest path of light is available to you now. So let's dig in. Okay, this is the third in this video series. Now, you can go back and watch those other ones, and that will give you maybe even more context to this than this, but we're going to pick this up in 2019. And in 2019, I had moved full-time into my spiritual business. My old career had gone away with a quite a lovely settlement. They eliminated my position. It was like a corporate job. And I had been there for 8 years, and they gave me this big severance package, which was fantastic, helped me to invest it into my business. So I went full-time with my entrepreneurship. And the thing is, I was several years into a relationship in which the other person used narcissistic tactics and I used codependent tactics. And so this metaphor of the vampire, and I always think of, I don't know if you watched True Blood, Sookie Stackhouse, and she was half fairy. And so am I. And, Sookie put herself in the position to actually be with the vampires. So she was getting something out of it. So I'm, again, allowing myself to not just convict another person. I am also convicted of being in this situation. But I'm talking about how I moved out of it with some cautionary tale, being the cautionary tale at the same time. So let's talk about what a psychic vampire is. A psychic vampire is someone who is able to take your energy. Now, again, it is because of my poor boundaries and my fractured self-worth that I was even in the position of it. And as I said in the last video, that if I talked to my close relationships that had nothing to do with that other relationship where the narcissism was occurring, they would be like, why are you in that relationship? Like, this sounds like it's not good. For years, I had other people who would be like, why are you doing that? And I thought, well, maybe it'll change. And I also thought I was too involved, you know what I mean? Because there was business going on around it. But all of that was just, again, as I said in the last video, when you notice that you are in a toxic situation, start your exit now. I didn't start my exit now when I saw that I was in a toxic situation. I kept lingering for a little bit. And then the period between when I discovered that, identified what it was, and then finally had to hit rock bottom, it really was like this, the vampirism kicked up so much that, as I said, in 2019, I got this severance package from my old career. And somehow by the time that it was time to leave, when I said in my heart it was time to leave, which was about a year and 3 months after that, through the toxic relationship, I actually had been sucked dry, literally, of my resources, of my finances, because the situation, when I'm not going to like blast this person, and again, it's on me, but there was some deception that happened, that when I did hit rock bottom, I discovered that this person had mishandled literally my money. And so then that's, and wouldn't, and even though it was admitted, it was somehow like told, there was no apology. And so that was when finally I hit rock bottom, and I was like, this is done. Now, again, when I decided to exit and the actual clean break, when it was over, it took me 6 months. And so if you are in a situation where there is narcissism, I'll give you some tips. And there are people like Dr. Ramani, Ramani. She's on YouTube, and she is a clinical psychologist. She does a lot of content on being in a narcissistic relationship. And, she teaches, it's like, if you're in that situation, often you have to kind of creep out, because you can't just confront and think that this other person is going to accept any of it, And actually, what happens if you try to confront a person who uses narcissistic strategies, they actually lash out even harder, and you come away feeling even worse. So anyway, you might have to, if you're going to leave a toxic situation, let's just say it's a job or, a line of work that you don't like, and you want to step into your spiritual entrepreneurship, you might need to do some preparation so you don't leave yourself insecure of resources. But the thing is, I want to impress is that the time to begin the exit is now, because you are being drained of, like in my case, of resources, but of energy. What's interesting is that, and I've worked with a lot of people who have to exit narcissistic relationships, like a person who was in a partnership, like it was the romantic relationship. The vampire's victim feels very weak, and it may not be because of, financial security. It might just be energy. It might be because of everything that has been piled on the person. And there's so many ways that your energy is being drained of you. You feel like, well, I can't, because I'm already feeling really weak. How can I move forward? And one particular client that I supported in this, keeping this person's identity completely private, this person did exit the romantic relationship of their partner, who was a narcissist. And when we had a session about 4 or 6 months later, I think it was only 4 months later, when they had actually split. And she was like, I can't believe how much energy I have. Now, she was still in the healing about all of the things, and even the self-worth is still healing and all of that. But she was like, it's actually so much easier to live without that person. I thought it was going to be harder, because that's basically what I was convinced of. But it's actually so much easier. I mean, there's stuff to clean up, stuff to heal. But it is always easier to stop the toxic situation as soon as you can. Here's the interesting thing, is that this also, the exit and everything, when the exits started, it was actually a shock and a surprise to learn what I did that made me hit rock bottom, in how there was some deception. And what's fascinating about that is that it aligned with the pre-shadow of my Chiron return. So in my Chiron return actually happened, the actual return happened in 2023, in the summer of 23. And this happened about 18 months prior to that, where the pre-shadow started, and it started with a shock. Now, the reason I'm pointing out that it started with a shock is because in human design, you can see what gate your Chiron return is in. And mine is in gate 51, which is called the gate of shock. So in case you haven't heard of this, Chiron is the wounded healer. And so as this series has been about core wounds that actually reinforce your limiting beliefs and your repeating patterns, and that is your core wound that is telling you the lies that are keeping you imprisoned in whatever way that you're not moving more forward on your manifestation or your spiritual mission or whatever it is, you're not moving forward in empowerment. Those limiting beliefs are being held in place by your core wounds. Chiron is the wounded healer, and Chiron, in your return, a return means that the Chiron asteroid is going to, is it an asteroid or a comet? I think it's an asteroid. Chiron is going to be in the same position as it was when you were born. So those energies that sort of stamped in at your natal point, and that core wounding that you came into, is going to be reviewed, and it's gonna show itself to you. So it was so fascinating, because it actually happened as a shock, just like the human design gate shows that my Chiron return is. Now, what else is interesting is that my husband and I were born really close together, only a month apart. So his Chiron return is happening about the same time. And he also had his Chiron pre-shadow start with the shock. Changed his whole career, similar to mine. We project, my husband and I both project all of our wounds onto our careers. Not onto one another. We have each other, a little sanctuary. And I should say, we used to, because now we're no longer doing it, right? We don't have to project our wounds onto anything. We can just examine them, move forward with power, and that's where I am now. I affirm. Amen. And so it is. Also, I have another very close friend who's close to me in age, and she also has 51, the gate of shock for her Chiron return. So she's entering her Chiron return. She also had a shock, and it, boom, made her just go like, well, F all of this. I'm starting a thing. I'm starting my life the right way. It's really, I'm already telling you about the tips and tools. Look at these important things. Now, I love human design. Human design, it has as a part of it astrology. It also has the I Ching. It has the Kabbalah tree of life and the chakra system and quantum physics. So I love it. I found it so valuable. And if you're wondering, the Chiron return happens between the ages of 48 and 50. And there's like a pre-shadow and a post-shadow. So I would like to claim and affirm that I'm coming out of my post-shadow, of my Chiron return, this awakening process that I've been showing you, where I was in similar patterns from that which was set up at childhood. This is actually the completion of it. So as I said, it did take about 6 months to fully exit that toxic situation. I just want you to know that do it now. And it might be smaller than the thing that I'm talking. I'm talking about a whole, like a whole career. And, using examples of your partnership or something like that. It might be something smaller than that. But if you're recognizing any area of your life where you are holding yourself back, it is time now to change it, because ascension is now. So there's that part. And I am going to actually continue the story in the next video. I'm about to give you some tips and tools for this. I already gave you a little sneak peek into some tips and tools about how to move swiftly along your ascension path. But I wanted to make sure that I invite you to like, subscribe, share. If you're listening on the podcast, please leave a review in your app, and also to check the description for the Quantum Resonance Intuitive Development Program. We have 2 levels of that. And it is not just education, it is group coaching. It is a sacred and beautiful community that is so packed full of activations that it blows all of our minds. One of my students just had an astral projection yesterday for the first time. And we were sharing about it, and she's like, oh my gosh, this happened, is that? And I'm like, yep, that's exactly what is, that's what happens. I have these experiences where, you can't even believe how magical we are. I can, but it's still like, even while you live in that magical life that's continually unfolding, it's still just as surprising. It's still just as exciting. So I do have one-on-one opportunities. Sometimes you need to reach out to me, because you could probably get an empathic channeling session with me, something that is like a hypnotic healing session, a single one. And you may be able to work with me in a private container of mentoring and healing. But those are usually ones that I don't actually mention those. They're not like on my website. They're ones that we talk about. So those are the invitations I have for you. And we are now going to get into some tips and techniques for you to move powerfully onto your ascension path, because we need you, because you have some kind of spiritual leadership that it is time for you to rise to. If you don't resonate with this, then that's great. That's fine. But I'm saying it because I know there are people who are hearing this and their hearts are calling me to say it. That's what I can feel. And when I do this work, it is really the time. We are in a powerful time right now. We're seeing some major paradigm shift. We are in a new paradigm. And there's some things that are going to be happening. I'm pretty sure within the next few years, something really ecstatic and dramatic is going to happen. Like, we're going to be ready for our star brothers and sisters to be here. Extraterrestrial. This is really happening. It's not just, this is not a silly, spiritual thing. There are whistleblowers going in front of Congress saying, hey, we have contact. This is happening. So anyway, all of that is speaking to how we are in this powerful new earth paradigm. And this new earth paradigm is also accessing our ancient paradigm of the golden eras of Lemuria, especially, and also the Atlantean. So stay tuned. Now we're going to talk about tips, tools, and techniques. All right. I already started talking about it. I was talking about human design in the sense of my Chiron return. Now, you may be in some other cycle or phase of your life. It's really great to know about these cycles or phases so that you can be in conscious engagement with how you're moving with these energies. And also, so you don't just think that you're nutso, you know what I mean? Like, to learn that my Chiron return has the theme of shock and that it is about core wounds, you know, that just helped me to be more grounded. So knowledge like that helps you to be grounded. So I'm inviting you to check out more of the layers of your human design experiment, or to start it. So if you're new to human design, I know it's a lot, and I don't know if I'll ever get through all the layers of it, and that's okay. So if you're starting off, this is my advice to you. Just look at your strategy, which is according to your aura. You're a generator, a manifesting generator, manifestor, projector, or reflector. I'm a reflector. Look at that strategy and kind of like just contemplate it and experiment with it, meaning like see if you are a generator, if you sit back and notice how life is bringing you something to respond to. And when you say yes from your body feeling lit up, the things go better, you know? Experiment with it that way. And also look at your authority. Your authority could be sacral or emotional or splenic, self-projected if you're a projector. I mean, there's several different ones for projectors, a couple different for generators. And if you're a reflector like me, then you don't have a consistent authority. But at any rate, also in the human design chart, what we go into with my intuitive development programs is we actually can see our psychic abilities and how they're working for us. Because here's the thing about your intuitive abilities, your natural psychic abilities, is that sometimes people miss them because they're so natural to you. You don't even know that they are tools that you can access. That's what it was like for me. I started when my spiritual awakening, animal communication, I started to create that, develop that as a tool, as actually a skill. When I saw my very first conscious aware psychic ability was I communicated with a cat and it saved her life. And I can probably link that below. Well, at any rate, it verifiably saved her life. And that was someone, and it was in a healing session, and she said, "You're an animal communicator. That's what we're here to discover." I went out and communicated with a cat and it saved her life. The doctor said, "You got here and just in time because it saved her life." Because this cat was telling me like she needed help. Telepathically telling me she needed help. So anyway, I didn't, and then so I had those abilities and I started to develop them. I have a business built around them. I teach animal communication, so I'm talking about quantum resonance intuitive development, but my animal communication course, if you love animals, I urge you to just read about it at least. And I definitely urge you and invite you to join us, because it is so magical to be able to connect with animals in that way. It is so healing for us. I really think that if you have a heart for animals and nature, telepathically, spiritually connecting with animals is a grounded and expanding aspect of ascension that we came here to. Like, I just don't think you can beat it as a way to expand and ascend faster. I'm on a whole different thing. So anyway, animal communication course is really immersive, really amazing, and it's got all kinds of quantum physics in it as well. So at any rate, what I'm saying is get into your human design, take one little piece of it and contemplate it for a while. And when I mean contemplate it, like read a few different articles about it, and like after strategy and authority, look at your profile, and those are those numbers. I'm a 5-1. Some people are 1-3s or 2-4s. Look at those descriptions and notice it about yourself. And also, like, take your partners, your best friends, your moms, take their birth information, put it in an app. And then, because it's the comparison that really helps us to see differentiation, right? And that's what it's called, the science of differentiation. And so just like be with it. Don't put any pressure. Don't try to make it into the way that we did institutionalized education where it's like memorize all of the stuff just so that you can prove it on a test and then forget about it the next day. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing with this. Take one piece and see how it can help you and support you. So anyway, what I was saying is that I had animal communication online. I made it a professional skill. I was teaching people how to do it, hundreds of people, how to become animal communicators, either like for their personal mission and also professionally. And then when I discovered human design, or it discovered me, I can see right there in my chart that animal communication is central to my psychic abilities. So anyway, my point is that your human design chart is a great way to see cycles. So we have Saturn return, and we have also different, like if you have a 6 line in your profile, you've got these different, ways that you're moving through life for the first 30 years, the next, from 30 to 50, and then 50 and beyond, like things are kind of like happening in these certain ways that are really mapped out for us and help us to be grounded in our spiritual expansion. And that is what expansion is. It's both grounding and ascension at once. So that is my tips and tools for you. And if you want to learn more about your human design experiment, we talk a lot about it in my quantum resonance intuitive development programs. We also talk about it a bit in the animal communication program. But we do talk a lot about it because especially in level 2, where we're going professional with our spiritual abilities, or adding whole new sets of spiritual abilities to your existing profession as a intuitive or healer, or whatever you might already be doing. We definitely talk about human design, because if we're working with people, we need to not condition them. We need to not have expectations of them that are like other people. They are unique and they have their own difference. So at any rate, again, those development programs have group coaching. So it is an incubator for us to grow. That is what I have for you. Now, in the next video of this series, we are going to continue to talk about my story of moving through this limiting pattern that I have been dealing with for all of the years, but I just came out in a brand new way. We're going to pick up the story in 2023, and in 2023, September 27th, 2023, I woke up with a phrase I woke up hearing, if you don't have a growth mindset, you will hit a downward spiral. And Spirit was saying this to me. Spirit Guide was saying it loud and clear as I awoke. It was almost as though I heard it in the room, but not quite as though I heard it in the room. And then it set me on a whole new path of awakening. So that is the next video. And again, if you want to get the blog articles about these videos, do sign up for my newsletter. You'll find a way to do that with a free meditation or a free mini course in the description. And that is the best way to stay on top of when things like content comes out. But also, I often only announce things like early bird prices on launches, or maybe some new service or a deal on a service. I often only announce those on my newsletter. And I hope that you are moving more powerfully and rising in your spiritual leadership. And I'm so grateful that you are shining your light on our beautiful world. So thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.